and welcome to another lawnfawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing Batty for You and the Batty for You coordinating dies. This set is so cute on its own, but it was also designed to work with our waving pull tab starter set. So we have two other stamp sets that work with this, Special Delivery and Snow Much Fun, and now we have Batty for You. And so in this video we'll show you how to use this set on its own and with the waving pull tab. We're going to start out by stamping out the stamp set, and it has this adorable little bat, and you can either have the bat right side up or you can also have him upside down. You can also have him with his wings out or with his wings folded in, kind of like he was sleeping hanging upside down. And that's what this little kind of Y-shaped piece is. So you just line it up there with that upper corner of the bat, and then the little V shape is going to kind of center around his feet, and you can just stamp it right on the body and have his wings folded in, or you can use these wings to have them out. We also have these two separate wings, and these are to use with the waving pull tab, and we'll be showing you that in just a little bit. This set also has this really great branch here, and I love these branches. I know I'm going to use them with Batty for You and in so many other scenes too. And we have two larger branches and one smaller branch. And then we also have this really cute little flower, and then we have a trio of stars and also some individual stars too, in both an open design and also a solid design. Batty for You has these really great little mini sayings. So we have a flap that you could stamp by the wings, a let's hang out, which is a very fun little pun, and then a really cute happy birthday. Then we also have some larger phrases. So we have don't worry, be flappy, which always makes me laugh. I'm Batty for You. We also have happy Halloween. And then we have Today is All About You, which is one of my favorites. And then the one that always makes me laugh too is You Old Bat, which is very funny to use for birthday cards. We also have an exclamation point that you can add to the ends of the phrases. Next, I'm going to use some of my Copic markers to start adding color to these adorable little bats. And I really loved this color combo that Callie from our design team used on her bat. She used these really pretty purples. I always used grays on my bats, either neutral grays or warm grays, and I thought the purples was such a pretty way to add just fun color to this bat. So you'll see that I'll add some shading with my dark, blend it out with the medium, and then go out into the light marker towards the center of his face. And that's kind of how I like to color these really cute bats in. And this set is just so much fun because I love that it's cute for Halloween, but I also love that it has these phrases that you can use for year-round that just makes it so much fun, like the birthday phrases with the You Old Bat, or also the Today is All About You, or the Don't Worry, Be Flappy. There's so many cute things that means that you can take these bats from Halloween all the way throughout the whole year. You can also combine these guys with our previously released Fangtastic Friends. They're much smaller, so they can look like bats in the background, and then this bigger bat is in the foreground. And then, of course, this guy was created to work with waving pull tab. And waving pull tab is so much fun. It came out quite a few years ago, and we've had different stamp sets that go with it. We have a bear that's making snow angels and Snow Much Fun, and then we have an owl delivering packages in Special Delivery, and now we have this super cute bat. And of course, we're going to show you how to put these all together. So now I'm going to use some grays for my bat. After using purple for the bat and the wings, I'm now going to use some warm grays, which I think is really pretty, but I'm just using my same exact style of kind of coloring in this bat, having the shadow around the outside and then having it lighter towards the center of his face. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll kind of create a shadow around all those little lines that we stamped to have his folded wings. And I think the folded wings bat is just so sweet. There's just something about him that is just so adorable. And then here you'll see that I flipped him over to kind of finish out some of my shading and also to give him some rosy cheeks. For some reason, I couldn't quite finish it when he was upside down, and I needed to kind of take a look from the other direction. Now, I really like using white gel pen details on these guys. They're really large images, and I feel like it just makes them feel really special. So you can see I did little lines, also little trios of dots, and I think that just turned out so cute. Now, for these branches, I want them to kind of look like they're at nighttime. So I really like these E40 markers to kind of give that look of just kind of like they're in the shadows. I just think it looks so pretty. And then I'll do the same thing with my greens, kind of keeping them darker so that we think we're looking at this really beautiful night scene. But I love that you could also use these branches in a daytime scene. And like I said earlier, I think I'm going to be using these branches on a lot of cards because they're so cool. We also have these great stars for setting the scene, and then that super cute flower that you could add to the branches, or you could even kind of tuck a little flower behind the bat's ear, which would be adorable. Now next up we have our coordinating dies, which you can bend apart at the tabs or use your wire snips to separate. Then we can take those tabs and line them up over our stamped images, hold them in place with some low-tack tape, and then run it through the die cut machine. And then you'll have perfectly cut out images every time. Now here is a look at all of the cute images from this set, and I love that there are so many ways to use this little bat. So let's kind of take a look at those. Of course, we have our bat with the folded wings, and he can hang upside down from a branch. Or we can take our bat and we can layer it over these connected wings, and that's going to make him look like he's flying, which is super, super cute. Or he could also go upside down and hang from a branch that way. Then, of course, we have all of these fun little extra pieces, like the smaller branch that you can add to your design, or the stars as well. I love that the coordinating die cuts out the trio of stars as individual stars, so it's really easy to add a ton of stars to your design. Now, of course, there you can see those two individual wings. Those are for the waving pull tab. The other die that comes in the coordinating dies is this little rectangle here that has those little notches in it. This is all going to be for our awesome waving pull tab, and we're going to show you how to make one of those right now. So before we start with our waving pull tab, we're actually going to create a really fun inked background. So here I have a 5 1/4 by 4-inch panel of white cardstock, and I'm going to bring out my nighttime sky stencil. I love this stencil so much, and we're going to be working with the moon. So I'm going to use my magnets here to hold my stencil in place, and then I'm going to put a bunch of post-its around just to mask off the edges because the only thing that I want to ink right now is my moon. So I'm going to be using some Lost Shadow Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to go over this whole moon, and I'm making sure that it's not completely even because I think that's what's going to give it kind of that fun texture, is having parts of it that are darker and parts of it that are lighter. Then here we can lift up our stencil, and in the stencil there's also all of these little craters that you can add to your moon. So we're going to line up some of these larger craters here, put our magnets down and some post-its down again, and now we're going to use some Hickory Smoke Distress ink to ink over these because it's a bit of a darker gray. And then my favorite part, as always, is lifting up the stencil. I always love lifting it up and seeing the surprise underneath. Now there are these smaller craters, and we're going to kind of layer them over the top, and for this one we're going to be using some weathered wood distress ink. And right now we are recreating a card by Callie, so thank you so much, Callie. And this moon is looking so cool now, and now we need to work on the background. And so the nighttime sky stencil comes with the circle as the mask. So it comes with kind of the negative and the positive for the stencil. So we're going to take this circle, and I'm just going to put a bunch of magnets here on top of each other to hold it in place to protect the moon while we create this really cool sky. And here we're starting off with some Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink, and we're going to ink up the bottom third of this whole panel with this really pretty pink. And you'll see as we get up to the moon, I'm just being a little bit careful there to make sure I don't get any of the pink onto the moon. Now we're going to go into some Wilted Violet, and the pink into the purple is so pretty to create this really fun kind of Halloween sky. So there you can see I'm kind of going around the moon, and then I'm making sure to overlap into the pink to create a nice gradient between the two colors. Now here we have some blueprint sketch for the top of the sky, and then we're just going to go down into the purple again, making sure to mix the colors. And then we'll go back and forth between the colors to make sure that they blend in really nicely. So the trick to a nighttime sky is adding some black ink around the edges. And I always get a little bit nervous to do this, but it makes it look so cool and kind of like a Halloween spooky sky. So I'm going to go around all of the edges of this, and I feel like when I add the black over the pink ink is when it really starts to feel like a nighttime sky. Now, once I add what looks like the right amount of black ink all of the way around, sometimes I'll come back in with the other colors just to blend it out and make it look a little smooth. So I brought the purple back in a little bit there just to kind of blend it all together and make sure I didn't have any sharp edges. Then the next thing, to give the feel of this kind of like starry sky, I'm going to spray just some plain water, and then I'm going to just dab it up with a paper towel. And as I keep spraying the water on there, I think it looks so magical. It feels like this like beautiful galaxy. So I kind of keep going over to the edges where there's not quite enough, and then keep spraying more. I probably sprayed too much water, but I was having a lot of fun. Now, to create a little bit more of that starry feel, I'm going to take some lawnfawn Yeti ink, which is a white pigment ink, add a little bit of water, mix it around, and then tap my paintbrush to create little white splatters. The other way I like to do this is with white acrylic paint, but I wanted these to be a little bit more subtle. So if you want white splatters that aren't so bright white, you could always try mixing some Yeti pigment ink with water to get that. Now we're going to lift up that stencil, and I got to tell you, I was nervous, but I couldn't believe it. I only got a little bit of pink on the very bottom of the moon, and I'm going to cover that up with a sentiment, so it's all going to be good. But I was really excited to see how this turned out, and my last step is going to be to add some of these clouds from this same nighttime sky stencil. I really like the look of the clouds kind of overlapping the moon. So I'm taking some of my Yeti pigment ink here, and I'm doing a pretty light layer because I want the clouds to feel really subtle. And isn't that so pretty? Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So now I'm going to take the rest of the clouds here. We did the largest one at the bottom, so we're going to do the smallest one here over to the left, and then we'll add some white pigment ink, and then we're going to add the medium-sized one in the top right corner. Then once we've covered this last cloud with the Yeti pigment ink, we can lift up the stencil and see this beautiful sky. It was so much fun to create. I was so excited when it all just turned out. And now I'm going to take this whole sky and we're going to set it aside to dry. And then we're going to start working with our waving pull tab. So as we talked about earlier, we have the awesome waving pull tab starter set that works with multiple stamp sets, and now it has this third waving pull tab bat. So here you can see that the waving pull tab starter set not only has dies with it, but it also has this great little stencil template that's going to let you know exactly where to place your pieces. Then from the coordinating die, we're going to need that little piece there, that little rectangle with the little notches. We're going to be using those all together, and that one is in the coordinating die for the Batty for You. So here we have our nighttime sky, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the notch creator piece and we're going to line that up at the top. So that long bar there is going to kind of butt up against the edge of the cardstock. That's how you'll know it's in perfect placement. And then we're just going to take some tape here, some low tack tape, and we're going to hold that in place. The next step is to take the stencil and line it up with the rounded part of that notch creator die. So you see it's going to fit right in there, kind of like a little puzzle piece. Once you have that butted right up against the edge of the die and kind of around that rounded part of the die, you know it's in perfect placement, and you can take that little rectangle piece that has the slots in it that comes in the Batty for You coordinating die, and that's going to fit right there in that stencil piece. And so you're going to know exactly where to put that piece. Then you can take a piece of low tack tape and hold that in place. Then all you have to do is just remove that stencil, and then you can run the whole thing through the die cut machine, and it's going to give you your notch and the slots that we're going to need to put our bat wings through. Then next we need to cut the pull tab and the stabilizer piece out of some white cardstock. Then we're going to bring in some of the images that we colored and die cut earlier. So we need our bat, and then we also need those individual wings that have the little tabs kind of going out with the little holes in them. We're going to be using that to create the waving pull tab. The other thing that we need is also a little mini brad. So it doesn't matter what color because we're not going to see it, but one of these tiny little brads similar to what you use in a reveal wheel, we're going to use here for the waving pull tab. Now the waving pull tab bat can either be upside down or right side up. We're going to show you right side up in just a little bit. But for right now, we're doing upside down. So I like to kind of place him and make sure I have my wings going in the right direction. And he looks great like that. So now I know where my wings need to go and how they're going to look in here. And I'm going to take my first wing and I'm just going to put it through that slot there. Then I'm going to take a brad and just put it up through that piece, just like that. So the base of the brad is against the cardstock and then the prongs are facing up. Then I'm going to take the other wing and feed that through. And the nice thing is see that little X there? The X needs to be in the same placement. So since that X is at the bottom, I need the X at the bottom of my other wing. And that'll make sure that they're going in the right direction, the same direction as each other. So I see that both of my X's are at the bottom. And now I can just feed that wing through and then just pop the brad through the other hole, just like that. Then we can take our pull tab piece and put the prongs of the brad through that. So now we've layered the two wings and now the pull tab onto that brad. We'll then open the prongs of the brad to secure it in place, and now you can already see that our wings are waving. Ah, it's so cute. It's so much fun. So now we're going to flip it over, and what we need is our stabilizer piece. And there are two score lines on this that we're going to fold away from ourselves to kind of create this piece that's going to wrap around there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add some adhesive to the back of the middle part of those folds, because that's going to be the part that's going to attach onto our card base. So you can see kind of in between those two score lines on the back, we're going to add some tape runner. Then what we're going to do is just feed this right underneath, and it's going to line up right there under those little kind of wings of the pull tab. And there's also a little score line that's very hard to see in the video, but you'll be able to see it in person, that's going to line up with the bottom part of that stabilizer piece. So it makes it very, very easy to line up. Once that's kind of lined up there and I'm making sure my waving pull tab is nice and straight and also flush against the top of my card, I can then wrap this piece around. And so what you're going to do is we're going to add some tape runner there to that small notch. And you're going to want this small notch here on the outside. So you're going to flip the bottom piece, and then you're going to just put that one around there, that smaller tab, and secure that down. And you'll see that's going to keep your tab from kind of wiggling all over the place, and it's going to make your whole thing work really, really awesome. And so you can already see those wings start to move. Next, we're going to add the bat over the wings. And I always like to use a little foam square and give the bat like a little pop. I think it looks really cute. So I'm just going to put a foam square right in between those wings. And then I can just layer my bat right on top. So I can just peel up that liner paper and then attach the bat so that he looks really nice with the wings in the placement that they are. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and seeing how he's going to look really cute. And then we can just attach him down just like that. And now you can pull that tab and you can see how those wings move, and it is just so much fun. Now, the waving pull tab set comes with this little piece that's decorative for the top of the tab that has like a little arrow in it that tells the recipient what to do. But I realized earlier that I should have ink blended a little extra piece for this, and I forgot. But that's okay. I had my inks right to the side. I'm just going to ink up some paper with some of that same blue and black ink that we use for the top part of the sky. And then I'm going to die cut this little tab piece. So I'm just going to hold that in place and run that through the die cut machine. And then now I've got this great little tab here. Then this little tab has a score line right there in the center, and so we're just going to fold along that score line. And the next thing I'm going to do is take some of that black ink and just ink the top of it a little bit so that it matches the top of my card. Then we can add some liquid glue to the inside of this little tab decorative piece and then layer it on top of the tab, kind of sandwiching the tab in between it. I always like to hold it to make sure that glue sets. And now we have this great little decorative tab that has the cute little arrow telling the recipient what to do. Now it's time to decorate. So I'm going to take that little branch and layer it right behind his feet so it looks like he's hanging from the branch. And then I'm going to go ahead and just trim off any of the excess. And I love this look of the branches kind of feeling like they're coming out from the sides of the cards, like there might be more and more branches and more bats in this cute scene. I layered one of the smaller branches behind this one just to give it kind of a different look. And then we can go ahead and add that branch on and then trim off the excess and then add one more small branch to kind of help fill out the scene. Next, I'm creating a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25, and then I'm going to flip my waving pull tab piece over and add a bunch of foam squares all of the way around. And you'll see I'm going to add a ton of foam squares because I want it to have a lot of support since this is an interactive card. Then I can go ahead and remove the liner paper and then layer this whole piece onto my card base. And now take a look at this cute bat. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. His little wings are moving and it's just so adorable. I could just play with this all day. It's so fun and so sweet. But now he needs a little sentiment. So we're going to take out some black cardstock. And I'm going to prep the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool so that all my embossing powder only gets onto my stamped image. And we're going to be stamping out "I'm Batty for You" in some clear embossing ink. And whenever I'm embossing, I have a tendency to stamp out the sentiment twice. That way, if one doesn't turn out perfectly, I can just use the other one. So now I'm going to sprinkle on some white heat embossing powder. I can tap off any of the excess, and then we can heat it up with the heat tool. Then I'm going to put this in my paper trimmer and just trim around the sentiment so that it's a nice rectangle. Then we can layer some foam squares on the back and then put it right on the card. I like how it's going to be overlapping some of the branches and the moon. I think that looks so cool. And now my card is all done, and this waving pull tab card is just too cute and too much fun. I love how easy they are to put together, and the little flapping wings are just adorable. And now next up, we are going to take a look at a fun way to use these wings on a non-interactive card. So we've gone ahead and stamped and colored some of these awesome images for Batty for You. And we're going to be using those waving pull tab wings to die cut the wings, but we're going to be using them without a waving pull tab in a really cool way. And this was a brilliant idea by Elena. So thank you so much, Elena. So we're going to line up our coordinating dies, run them through the die cut machine, and now we're going to start layering these wings onto the bats. And then we're going to add some adhesive there to that little extended part of that waving pull tab wing and layer it behind the bat. Now for the next wing, we kind of want it to wrap around his body. So we're going to be using this wing right here, and you'll see how it's going to kind of layer over. And how we're going to do that is we're going to kind of line it up against his body, and then we're going to fold the wing back against the edge of the bat. So we're going to hold it there, and you'll see we're going to fold it back just like that. And this is going to give it this look like that wing is really wrapped around the bat, which is so cool. The next step is to flip the bat over, and we're going to need to secure that back part of the wing on the back. And I love that this is just a cool and unique way to use these little wings. So once again, we're just going to layer it on the front there. We're not going to glue down the front part of the wing just yet. And now we're just going to wrap it around and make sure we secure that back piece there. And he is looking so cute. And so we're going to repeat the same kind of idea on the other bat, but he's going to be facing in the other direction. So we're going to add some adhesive to that little extended part of the wing and then layer that one behind the bat. And then we're going to take the other wing, and once again we're going to wrap around that back piece. So it really looks like his wing is kind of wrapped around, which is so cute. And then all we need to do is add some adhesive there to the inside part of that and then layer it against the back of the bat. And I think this is so cute and such a unique way to use the waving pull tab pieces. Now we're going to start working on our sky, and we're starting here with some mermaid cardstock, and we're going to be layering on some fish tank ink. And I love creating ink blended backgrounds by starting with a piece of colored cardstock because it makes it really easy to blend up, and I feel like it gives it a really unique look. So we're going to build up that fish tank ink, and then we're going to go into a darker ink, which is deep sea, to kind of add it there to the edges now. So now we've got two different shades of blue that we're going to build up, leaving the inside part of this, that mermaid cardstock, which gives it this like beautiful glow that's going to be so cool for our bats. Next, we're going to take out the brand new Wild Wolf stamp set, and there's this great moon in it that we're going to be using for this card. And so here's that little moon. We've stamped and die cut it there and colored it in yellow, and we're going to be creating a yellow glow coming out of this moon with some lemonade ink. So you can see that we're just kind of holding the moon in the center there just to kind of have an idea of how big this glow needs to be. And then we're going to bring in the lemonade ink with a really light hand, building it up in a circular motion until it creates this really kind of beautiful, eerie glow. Then once we have this kind of perfect circle going, then we're just going to go in with a little bit more ink, just spreading it out just a little bit. That way you kind of have the glow kind of spreading out to the left and right too, and I think that's a really cool look. Now here we have our stitched rectangle frames, and we're going to use the largest one and die cut some white cardstock to create a frame for this really fun ink blended sky. So we'll add some tape runner to the back of this and then layer it on. Now, I love this bat for awesome Halloween cards, but I love that it could be birthday too. So what we're going to do is take out really high five, but really any birthday theme stamps that would work, and find some kind of birthday items for these bats to hold. So we have a present and a party hat and a balloon, and that's going to bring these bats into this birthday theme, which I think is so cute and so unique. So the first thing we're going to do is layer on the moon in our fun little glow. And then we're going to add some foam squares to the back of the bat, and we're going to layer those onto the sky. So there you can see kind of using that moon as that center point, and then their little bat wings are going to kind of meet in the middle, and I think that's so cute. Like they're almost like presenting the moon. Then we can take some tape runner and layer on the little party hat, and now you can see we're bringing these bats into a birthday theme. Then we're going to take that balloon from Really High Five, which has a separate string that we're adding to it. And then we're going to add a little foam square to the back of that and then layer it into the bat's wing as if he's holding it. And I feel like this makes the whole card. It's so cute and so fun. It just makes me smile. Next, we're going to add a little foam square under that wing that's wrapped around because that little pop is really what helps that kind of wrapped around look really cool. So we're just going to put a little foam square under each one. And then this little guy is going to be holding a present. And now we're going to add little drops of glue and layer the stars into this. And I love that the coordinating die for Batty for You, you can stamp the 3 stars all at once and then the die cuts them 3 individually. It makes it really easy to create a bunch of stars to layer on a card or even to like add in a shaker or something like that. And then once we add all of these cute little stars around, then we're going to take a white gel pen and just add like extra little stars kind of that would be even further in the background. And this is just such a cute little look. The other thing you could do is splatter some white paint, but of course we had already made our whole card design, so we needed to just use the white gel pen. And this is a really cute way to add a bunch of little details onto a card. And I think it just makes it feel really special. And I like how it kind of coordinates with the white frame. And then we're also going to add some white gel pen lines now to all of the images that are on the card too. And you'll see as you add those little white gel pen lines, it just makes everything look 3D and makes the whole thing pop. Next up, we're going to stamp our sentiment. Today is all about you, which is so cute. We're going to stamp that on some white cardstock and then use a paper trimmer to trim all around this cute little sentiment to make it kind of like a little rectangle. Then to add some extra detail, we're just going to take a light gray marker and go around the edges. And this will give it a nice little pop and make it feel almost like it's like a little plaque or something, which is what it's going to look like when we add it to the card. So we're going to add some foam squares on there and then layer it so that part of it is in the sky and then part of it is layered onto the frame. And once again, it almost looks like a little plaque on a picture frame. I think it's just so cute and sweet. And then for one last finishing touch, we are going to take out the Fangtastic Friends stamp set. And there's a really cute little spider in there. And so we're going to stamp color and die cut this little guy, add a little foam square, and he's going to be crawling onto the sentiment, which is so super cute. Then next up, we're going to take out a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25. We'll add some adhesive to that and then layer our card on to that card base. And now this card is all done and it is so super cute. I just love this design so much. I love the idea of using the little waving pull tab wings in a different way. It's just so much fun. And next up, Shari is going to create a waving pull tab, but the bat is going to be facing right side up. So take it away, Shari.
To create my card today, I'm starting out with the new Spiffier Speckles Petite Paper Pack. And I am going to choose this orange color with the gold foiled speckles. This is going to basically give us our cool gold shimmer on the background without using our gold watercolor. I'm using the largest of the outside in stitch rectangles to cut out my background panel, and I'll have that nice stitching around the outside. And then I have my cloud stencil, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ink blending to the background. So first I'm starting out with Carved Pumpkin Distress ink, and using a very light hand, as you can see I am tapping some of that ink off on that piece of paper to the right. I'm just putting a layer of clouds down onto my background, and then I'll just ink the bottom. Next, I'm going to pull in some ripe persimmon distress ink and just line these clouds back up and very lightly just go right along the edge so that it is a little bit darker right along the edge of those clouds. And you can see how I'm getting this really cool subtle cloud tone-on-tone background. And then I'm just inking up the edges all around so that it's nice and dark on the edges and stands out really well. You can see that you can ink blend right over that gold foil and you keep all that nice shimmery goodness. Now here are my images I'm using. I have a couple bats from Fangtastic Friends, as well as that big bat from Batty for You, and a couple of those little bitty stars in the set as well. I'll be using the Waving Pull Tab Starter set to create my Waving Pull Tab card today. First, I'm going to use this die here that has the bar across the top. You just line that up with the top of your card panel, and this will cut the notch that goes into the top where the pull tab will be. So I'll just line this up, bumping that bar against the top of my panel, and I'll hold that in place with a little bit of low-tack tape. This is removable Scotch tape. Then I'll use the stencil guide that comes in this starter set. And then I'll also need those two little slits that come in the Batty for You coordinating dies. So you want to line that rounded notch up with the notch at the top, and then this will show you exactly where to place this die that cuts the two little slits for the bat's wings to go through. And I can hold that in place with some tape as well, and then I'll run this panel through my die cut machine. And you can see here I have that nice notch at the top with some stitching detail and the two slits. I also need to cut the pull tab, the little guide, as well as the little arrow piece that goes on the top. So you can see I've gone ahead and cut all those pieces out, and now I can start to assemble my bat. Now to assemble this waving pull tab bat, I want to take my panel and flip it over to the back side. I'm also going to flip over the wings, so I'm working from the back side of all my pieces. I want to take the first wing and slide it through from the front towards the back, and you want to make sure that the little X that the die creates is on the top of that wing. Then I will put my brad through so that those prongs face towards me. I will thread my second wing through from the front to the back and put it over the brad as well. And then I can take the pull tab. You want to make sure the piece with those little notches is towards the top, and you can see that there is that little hole as well. And you want to thread the brad through that little hole. Then you can just open it up and it will hold your wings in place. So now you can see that they work great, but you do want to use that little stabilizer piece to make sure that you do not push the tab down too far. So this piece is going to line up with a little score line that's created on the pull tab. Put a little adhesive on that flat area, slide it behind, and then you'll add a little bit of adhesive to this tab and you'll fold it over, creating a little pocket for that tab to slide through. And you can see those little tabs that stick out on the pull tab will bump into that so that you don't push it too far down. Now I need to add my little decorative piece that I've cut from that same pattern paper to the top of the pull tab. And I cut my pull tab from some storm cloud cardstock, so it's a dark gray, and it will match the dark gray that I layer behind this panel once I'm finished. So I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive to this decorative tab. It's folded in the middle, and you'll just apply that to the end of the tab, and you have that little arrow telling the recipient to pull that tab for something really fun to happen. Now to add the body of the bat, I'm making sure that I put my adhesive onto my card base, because if I put too much adhesive on the bat, I don't want it to stick to the wings and not allow them to move. So that's why I put the adhesive right between the two wings, making sure that those wings still move around. How cute is this little bat? I've added foam adhesive all over the back, avoiding the center where that pull tab moves. And then I'm just adding this to a storm cloud piece of cardstock cut with the largest stitch rectangle stackable. And then I will put this onto a card base just like this. And I always like to continually check and make sure everything is moving properly. Now I can add my sentiment, and I'm using the sentiment that says Happy Halloween from the Batty for You stamp set. I've cut a fancy folded banner from that same dark gray storm cloud cardstock, and I will white emboss this sentiment onto that dark gray. I use my anti-static powder tool on the cardstock. I'm stamping this with some clear embossing ink, and then I'm adding my white embossing powder. Then I will just heat this up with my heat tool until it's all melted, and you get that bright white sentiment on that dark gray cardstock. Then I can fold along the score lines that the die creates and create my little folded banner. So you want to fold the first line back and the second one back towards you, and you get those cute little fishtails that are kind of dropped down from the banner above. So now I can start to assemble the rest of the pieces of my card. I have my little fangtastic friends here to add to the top right and the bottom left corner. And I colored them in a fun green color, so they were a little different than my big bat in the middle. For my sentiment banner, I'm adding some black foam squares all over the back of the part where the sentiment is. That will pop that up and give it some room for these folded fishtails to kind of go behind it. So I've just added a little bit of liquid glue to those tails so that they can be glued down directly to that card base. So I'm just tucking those in and making sure they're nice and stuck down. Then I've taken all the little stars that I stamped and colored from the Batty For You stamp set, and I'm sprinkling those around and adding them with a little bit of liquid glue. And I did think it was fun to add some to where they're kind of hidden when the bat's wings are up, and you reveal them when the bat's wings go down, and vice versa. So you can see I've hiding some between there. And then of course, it's always good to add a little bit more sparkle. So I've got some stickles here. I like to use these yellow stickles when I'm doing stars. And Halloween cards are always a fun time to break out these kind of neon green ones. And I thought those worked perfectly on my green bats. And then of course, I have my trusty Stardust stickles that I'm going to add to my purple bat. I'm adding a little bit to his wings and his head. I just think it's kind of like magical pixie dust that's fallen onto their wings. And then here's my finished card. I love that gold foil in the background from the Spiffier Speckles paper. And I think that this bat with the wings that move is just so adorable. I also really love that this new Batty For You stamp set coordinates great with the Fangtastic Friends for even more fun cards.
Oh my goodness, Shari, this orange sky is so cool, and I love how you brought the Fangtastic Friends bats into this card. I just love it so much. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team, and this card by Grace is so sweet. I love how she has the waving pull tab at the bottom of the card, and she used that "you old bat" sentiment for a cute birthday card that's so fun. This card by Tammy is just gorgeous. I am in love with that purple sky and yellow moon. Here, I absolutely adore this card by Maureen and how she put her waving pull tab onto a slimline card. I think that is just such a cool idea. And then this card by Audrey is amazing. That yellow sky is just so gorgeous. Next up, we have the card by Callie that inspired us to make ours today, and it's just so much fun with that really unique sky and the fun waving pull tab. And then this card by Anea is so sweet. I love that she stamped the bats on pattern paper to color them in. How fun is that? This card by Lynette is so awesome. I love how she used our giant happy Halloween sentiment. It's so great with the bats. And then this cool green sky by Mindy is just stunning. I love it so very much. This card by Elena is the one that inspired us to make ours today, using those waving pull tab wings in a different way. And then here, I love how Elise used a pink background for this bat. It's so cute with her custom hang in there sentiment. I love how Rebecca brought in the Fangtastic Friends bats, and they're kind of in the background, and our big bat is in the foreground. I think it's so fun. And then this card by Megan is so sweet. I just love this little guy flying through the air. And then here, I love Letitia's pink sky and her awesome spooky forest backdrop with her bat. It's so fun. So we cannot wait to see what you guys create with Batty For You, so make sure to share it with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!